Hello, baby dolls. Welcome to day 2 of 25 days of books. We in there. I got the Black Santas out today. Today's gonna be a good day. So I figured today I would go ahead and give you guys my reading wrap up for November. I finished 19 books in November and I wanted to do a wrap up that was a little bit more rapid fire. So today I figured we would do a rapid fire yes and no and for the 19 books that I read in the month of November. This is an idea I got from Elena over on TikTok. You guys may recognize her pretty face. She does this all the time and I think it's just really great to kind of get books out of the way. And then of course, any books that you guys want a more in-depth review on, let me know and I will supply. So if you're interested in hearing about all of the books that I read in November and if I think you should read them, then just keep watching. It just feels so official now that I have the Christmas books out. I'm just saying. Let's start with my physical books first. I read 3 physical books and then the rest were all ebooks. Obviously the Bree event took place and so that really took up a lot of my time, but so many, especially Black authors, have been dropping really great, fun, fall, Halloween, and then now, of course, Christmas shorts. So I have been deep into that. Let's start off first. Our book of the month pick for November was The Art of Scandal by Regina Black. I would say yes if you want a book that has really hot, steamy political intrigue with a lot of mess. I would say no if you struggle with having main characters that hold on to a lot of secrets and hold on to their identities past a certain point in the book. 50% in, we still don't 100% understand the connection between Nathan and some of the other notorious players in this book. So if that bothers you, then no. But overall, this was a phenomenal read and you guys will get more about this book specifically in Book and Breakfast on Saturday. And I was in the mood for something fun, something monster, something a little alien. And so I got Abducted by Aliens and now I'm trapped in a rom-com by the Kimberly Lemming. You can see by my face, I had a lovely time. Yes, if you enjoy alien monster romance and why choose dynamics, because even though the cover doesn't give that, we do have a why choose dynamic in here. I would say no if you don't like comedy sketch show type comedy. Kimberly Lemming gives us very like millennial content and the comedy within the dialogue of this book really does give like comedy sketch show. Oftentimes really silly things happening in very serious moments. If you're not a fan of that, then you probably will not enjoy this book, but I absolutely adored it. This was one of my highest rated books for the month. I adore Kimberly Lemming. Y'all need to get into this if you have not. And she has also announced the release of book 2 for next year. And I'm so excited because we do get to meet those characters in this one. And then I also spent mainly like the majority of the month working on Pucking Sweet by Emily Rath. This is book 3 in the Jacksonville Rays hockey series. If this sounds familiar to you, you probably are familiar with the book Pucking Around. That one went viral a couple of years ago. Pucking Sweet, I would say yes if you love white shoes dynamics, interracial romance, and male main characters who are both deeply flawed and incredibly soft and in need of love. I love the main male characters in this book. I would say no if you're not a fan of having to wait until the very end of a very, very long book to have the resolve within a lot of the messy dynamics in their personal lives. Our main character, Poppy St. James, is in a really icky dynamic with her family. She's dealing with finding out that the man that she was supposed to marry several years ago is now engaged to her sister. And her entire family is not only gaslighting her about it, but her sister is trying to force her to be a part of this situation. And we don't get any like actual resolve until like the very, very end of the book. And this book is like 500 pages long. So if you're not into that, if you don't want to wait but this was also a really, really good book. Another one that I feel like, to me, really outdoes Pucking Around. I have enjoyed the books following Pucking Around more than I did actually enjoy Pucking Around. Let's go ahead and get into these ebooks because I have a lot. First one is Don't Run by Shon. This was a Halloween novella. And listen, yes, if you love dark stalker vibes with a lot of spice and a lot of really great BDSM dynamics. I would say no if you don't like unfinished stories. This one really does leave us begging and yearning for more from these characters, and I really do hope that Shon continues this and brings these characters back and gives us a full-on stalker romance. It's a little workplacey vibes, it's all of the things. So if you don't like that, if you don't like the feeling of an unfinished story, I would not recommend. But overall, this was a phenomenal release by Shon. Then we have Boot Up by Nina High. This was another Halloween holiday short in the romance category. Yes, if you like spice right off the bat and you also love watching the male main character do what he needs to do to get his woman. No, if it really frustrates you to constantly see that woman denying what is right in her face. She got on my damn nerves. But he pulled up really, really good. This is kind of like a friends with benefits turned lover story where we have our male main character setting up a little scavenger hunt for our FMC to win her love. It was really, really cute, short and sweet, but the FMC just did get on my nerves just a little bit. But I'm happy that she got her love. Then we have Sweetest Taste of Sin with My Ex's Daddy by Mona Leah. This was one of my pickups from the Bree event, and boy, was this a wild ride. I would say absolutely yes if you love stories where the FMC gets her lick back, whether she intends to or not. This is the biggest lick back of all time, really and truly. So if you're not a fan of the main character entertaining the person from the prior relationship, and also no, if you are not a fan of stories being wrapped up just a little too quickly. Obviously this was a shorter story. I think this was 100 and something pages, but the story does end very, very quickly. It's an abrupt end. I did really enjoy this story though, and I think there are other books in this with the Sweetest Taste of Sin series with other authors, so I do intend to read the other ones. This is a really great introduction to Mona Leah's writing. I would also say no if you get icked out the way I do when people bring up someone possibly being DL for a reason that they no longer want to be in a relationship with them. We need to move past that. It's almost 2026. Find new material. Then we have Summer Rain by Clover Cade. Oh my goodness. Yes, if you are yearning for some of the most sensual, filthy intimacy, the kind of intimacy that makes you feel like you need to let the characters in the book have a room to themselves. If you're yearning for something like that, absolutely. I would say no if you are not a fan of instant sexual encounters. This is very much a we meet and then we just take a chance on it. Also no if you're someone who is really who really gets into these types of characters and you would like to see more. This was a really tiny short, and it was so good and satisfying and yummy. But I also would take a book with these characters, absolutely. Clover Cade is a new to me author. Whatever they continue to write, I will pick up. It was that good. The Summer Rain was also a pickup from the Bree event. Then we have One More I Love You by Jacqueline Scarlett. This was also a pickup from the Bree event. Yes, if you are someone who is always yearning for a second chance at love, and you are also someone who enjoys seeing people kind of be grown enough to come back together and accept one another's flaws. No, if you are not prepared to read a tragic ending, this does have a very sad ending. This is a sad book in general. And so if that is something that you cannot handle, I will just say, babes, I will just say, you might want to skip that one. But what I will say is that this was done phenomenally. I sobbed. It was a really great book, but I wasn't prepared at how much it was going to tug at my heartstrings. Let's see. Then we have Clock It, books 1, 2, and 3 by Angel Gonzalez, another pickup from the Bree event. I would say yes if you enjoy stories like Madam or Beauty in Black. I think both of those are like Tyler Perry shows, if I remember correctly. If you enjoy those like urban dynamics where you have kind of these underlying plot lines and people kind of playing each other, a lot of things are happening like in the club, you know, then I think that you will really enjoy this. No, if you struggle with having a lot of characters with very similar names, if you struggle with not having dialogue that is set up well, and I will also say if you struggle with major plot holes, this one is not for you. I enjoyed book 1 for what it was, but 2 and 3 just completely unraveled any good thing that happened in book 1. To me, this was probably one of the biggest fails. There's one that failed bigger than this in November. But I do think that this book could be phenomenal with a really, really good editor. I think if Angel got a really good editor, I think this would be a stunning book and a series that I would really hold on to hard. Then we have The Queen of Sugar Hill by ReShonsa, Tate, and oh my goodness, 5 stars across the board. Phenomenal. This is a historical fiction based on the story of Hattie McDaniel. I would say yes if you are someone who would like to read a story that really kind of throws you into what some of your favorite historical figures could have been thinking during that time period. Yes, if you're someone who is really into Black film and television, I think that this is absolutely for you. I would say no if you're someone who is not prepared to read a story that doesn't necessarily have a happy ending. If you know anything about Hattie McDaniel, she was the first Black actress to win an Academy Award for her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. And during that time period, that was a very controversial role. And the roles that many actors were cast to play in that time were very controversial overall, especially with the like rise of the NAACP. And so Hattie McDaniel lived a very, very hard life, and she didn't necessarily pass away with having much to show for it. So if you're not prepared for that, I would just be aware of that. But this was phenomenal. I genuinely felt like I was in Hattie's shoes the entire time. I cried, I sobbed, I laughed. It was a really good book. I highly recommend if you love historical fiction. Then we have So Thankful by Aria Daze. I already did a review on this one, so you can go check that out if you would like to. This is a Thanksgiving taboo novella. I would say yes if you love Black characters that are soft, have a very high level of emotional intelligence, and have really amazing intimacy. Obviously, the spice is going to be amazing because the intimacy eats. I would say no if you're not prepared for family kissing family. I'm never going to hear the phrase big unk the same again. Moving on. Aria, When I Catch You. Aria, When I Catch You. All right, then we have The Last Stream by C.M. Campbell. This was another read from the Bree event, and a really interesting one. I would say yes if you love the idea of a love that you thought was lost and would never actually come to fruition, coming out of their difficult situation, pulling up and making sure that you are loved on and taken care of. If you are someone who really loves that dynamic of just being loved up on and cared for, and having a woman just put in the softest situation ever, absolutely. I would say no if you're not a fan of a book really starting on a super duper high note and then becoming kind of one note. We start with the book in like really steamy situations. She is a cam girl on the side, and we are introduced to that side of her. But when her guy enters the chat, things turn more so into them like kind of settling down and figuring out what this is and accepting where they are in their lives. If you're not a fan of that, then I would, you know, just be mindful of that. But overall, this was a really, really good, cute read. We love to see a man loving on a woman and making her life easier. We have Just Right for Christmas by Shon. Shon has been hitting it out of the park with these holiday novellas. This is a Christmas short following the holiday seasons for our original characters from Just Right, the first book in the Bliss Peak series. So I would say yes if you love Why Choose, polydynamics, of course. You love some good spice in your stories as well, and you love to read books that are kind of giving you a peek into some of your already established favorite characters. I would say no if you are not a fan of reading a lot of inter-family trauma. We have our characters back kind of dealing with their relationships with their parents as they navigate the holidays. And also, if you struggle with reading about bodily trauma, we do have Goldie dealing with endometriosis, and she has some very difficult scenes in this book. As someone with endo, I cried because it was very relatable, very on the nose. Thank you, Shon, for the representation, because we don't talk about it enough. It is very debilitating. It is hard. And so if you're not prepared for that, just be aware of that. But overall, this was a phenomenal holiday short, and I loved getting a peek into all of my babies from Just Right. They are some of my comfort characters, so highly recommend, but make sure you read Just Right first. We have Snuggled Up by a Southern Queen BBW for the Holidays by E. Jenkins. I don't have any yeses. I will start with the male main character's name is Yule. Yule Kris Kringle. Imagine how I felt when I had to read the phrase, oh, Yule, in a sex scene. Yeah, it was, aside from the fact that the names of the characters were just super duper outlandish, we have a plus size FMC who was insecure and does not like herself. We have a male main character who was obsessed with the fact that he is a 6'3" guy with a strong build, and also that he is not actually attracted to big women. This was not good. I do not have any kind things to say about it. The entire thing is a no if. I do not recommend. Also, it was just rife with errors. It really needed an editor and somebody to tell her that maybe you should not write this. Oh, also, apparently Donny Hathaway has a song called Hang on the Mistletoe. My brain still hurts from that book. It's a no if all around. 2 holiday shorts from BriAnn Denae. We have Spin Bout You, which is a Friendsgiving short. I would say yes if you are a big fan of Insta-Love. We have 2 characters that are meeting for the first time at a Friendsgiving event. And it is like really short and cute and spicy. I would say no if you are not a fan of kind of like characters that are also like pseudo motivational speakers. It just got a little bit too cringy for me with the motivational talk. But overall, it was still really cute, really spicy. And then we also had Fucking Under the Mistletoe. This was my favorite out of the 2. There is a third one that I'm going to actually read this week. I would say yes if you love a really good second chance dynamic. I'm trying to think of a no. I would say no if you're not a fan of those second chance dynamics. But honestly, like, this was a perfect holiday novella for me. It was really cute. We had a lot of really, really great gems dropped from like the parents in this as well. It was just a really well-rounded holiday short, and I highly recommend. And then last but absolutely not least, we have Broken Ties by Bree. This was a surprise alternate POV drop for the Bonds That Tie series. So this is all of the guys' POVs from book 1 of that series. And boy, I have a lot to say about it. I'm going to do an actual video on this book itself. I would say yes, if you are a fan of looking into the heads of characters that you didn't necessarily get a lot of POV from. In the first book, we don't really get much from the guys. And so this was the perfect book to do a POV situation of, because we understand what Oleander is going through, but we don't understand the guy's motivations. Everything makes so much more sense, really and truly, with this POV. I would say no if you are yearning for that general feeling of like spice and tension and all of that stuff. This one really does lean heavier on the traumatic experiences that all of the guys are going through. We have a character that's recovering from parental abuse. We have a couple of characters dealing with the loss of family members as well. So if you struggle with those dynamics, they are amped up in this book because all of these guys have dealt with some really serious trauma. So if you're not prepared for that, it will probably be a no for you at this moment. But I will just say this is one of the best alternate POV reads that I have picked up in a while. Job well done, Bree. All right, baby dolls, that is it for this video. Those are all of the books I read in November. Your girl was on it. Bree really did help with that. I picked up some really great stuff, and I'm going to be continuing on working on my Bree books and reading more holiday shorts. You guys, again, let me know what books you would like me to do like a full solid review on. And you guys let me know, what books did you finish in the month of November? What were your 5-star reads? I'm nosy, so let me know. I love y'all. Thank you for pulling up on day 2 of 25 Days of Books. And I will see you tomorrow with some more good. Bye.